I'd like to welcome Case Western Reserve University to the stage. Representing the Spartans today are 15th year head coach Greg Debeljak and senior defensive end Cameron Brown. Welcome. I like clapping. They should be clapping for everybody. Coach Debeljak, we'll start with a few questions for you and then move on to Cameron. The Spartans are coming off their first PAC championship since rejoining the conference as an affiliate member in 2014. What did your team learn from last year's success, and how do you anticipate those lessons carrying over into the upcoming season?
Well, I think they learned from a great group of seniors, what goes into success. A lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, commitment. Those just aren't words. You kind of have to live it, and find a way to get all your football prep done, as well as all of your academic responsibilities. And they had a great group to learn from for a number of years, because we graduated quite a few seniors that were 3- and 4-year starters. So I think just every day at practice and in games, they did more observing. I think what they have to do is put it into practice and take what they've learned and go out on the field. Loved what we saw in the spring. We had a lot of excitement, a lot of intensity. We had 10 days of extra practice due to a foreign trip we went on. So we found out a lot about our kids, and the coaching staff really liked who we have coming back. The issue will be, they're going to make mistakes, and how quickly they can learn from their mistakes and how they're going to react in situations that they've never been put in before. So you never know that until you get out on the field and experience it.
Coach, we're going to keep it simple here. What do you think the team needs to do to be successful in 2018?
Just again, it's going to be a learning experience. I think they have the will. It's just a matter of putting them out there in situations that we're going to be so young and so inexperienced that they haven't been in before, and they have to learn how to react in situations that they're under the gun. The guys that we lost, played a lot of football, and they were in a lot of different situations. So we're going to learn a lot about them as we go along.
You mentioned losing some players. You lose a number of key players from last year's team on both sides of the ball. How do you anticipate replacing them, and how do you see the team changing based on the new personnel going into this year?
Well, I guess that would be the key. You can't remain the same because you change every year. And, we've tweaked it, the last few years. Probably on offense we're going to have to make some changes that we might not be the same, based upon we had an excellent quarterback that we just had a very special skill set, and we tried to take advantage of those skills, for the last 3 years, and we don't have that skill set. Doesn't mean that we don't have quality people coming in, but we won't be the same, and don't expect to be the same. I don't expect them to be Rob Kuda. I just expect them to be themselves. Defensively, I don't see much change. I think we're pretty committed to what we're doing and believe in what we're doing. And from our spring and the extra days of practice on our trip, we think we can stay in the same scheme and execute the same types of coverages and blitzes and schemes up front that we've been doing for the last 3 years, but just with different names.
Coach, last question for you. Cameron Brown has been one of the top defensive linemen in the league since joining your program in 2016. What makes him such an impactful player, and how do you see his role expanding this year?
I think a few things. I think he obviously has physical talent, but what makes him stand out in my mind is his work ethic. Cameron's the kind of guy that will leave a meeting and go out on the field on his own and have an individual walkthrough where he'll go through the steps on what we just went up on the board by himself. It's kind of odd looking at times when you do that, because he's the only one on the field. But Cameron's been around sports because of his dad his whole life, and I think that he's learned so much from being around professional athletes and professional coaches and how they go about their business. And I think that's carried over on to his athletic career, and you just see the the great lessons that he's learned and the habits that he's picked up from, really some of the best athletes, in the country.
Coach Debeljak, thanks. Cameron, a couple questions for you. You took a year off from football in between high school and joining the Case Western Reserve team while you're a student at Cincinnati. What brought you to Case Western Reserve, and really what brought you back to football?
I really missed playing football. The end of my senior year with football didn't end as I wanted to, so I had a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, and so I just gone to Cincinnati, and all I was doing there was just playing basketball at the rec, which just wasn't giving me the competition and like the team camaraderie that I was looking for. And I had also had some people approaching me asking if I played on the team at the University of Cincinnati, and I didn't. And so then I was going to originally go to Case Western out of high school, and when I chose to go to Cincy instead and then decided to try to pursue football again, I just called the coaching staff, and they were gracious enough to allow me to come back as long as my grades transferred, and they obviously ended up working out.
With the number of starters graduating from last year's defensive unit, your role as a leader is expected to increase. How do you anticipate growing into that role as a team captain this year?
I think it'll be a little bit of a learning curve, but the 2 years prior, my first year when I got there, Tyler Doty was a really big impact on me, and this past year, Dan Techman was a ginormous impact on me. I was extremely excited when he was willing to pass down his jersey to me, and just the lessons that he taught me all throughout the year. I'm going to try to apply that to our younger guys so I can have the same type of impact on them as he had on me, and I'm just going to keep working as hard as I can to ensure we stay in the right direction.
Cameron, last question for you. What have you learned from being the son of a coach, and how has that impacted your time as a student athlete?
I've been able to just see the work ethic that my dad puts in, day in and day out. I'm also able just to see how he handles all different types of things, handles adversity. It's really taught me how to be a competitor. He's been a massive impact as far as my success in sports has gone, being able to look up to him and my brother and my uncle.
Coach, Cameron, thank you guys. Case Western Reserve will get its season underway September 1st at home against the University of Rochester. Thank you, gentlemen.